Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to have you join us today. I'm Debra Eckerling, author of Your Goal Guide and creator of the Deb Method for Goal Setting Simplified. I specialize in helping people figure out what they want and how to get it, as well as in event outcome optimization. You can't reach your goals on your own. You need your people. So every Sunday night, I lead the Goal Chat Twitter chat, and then I bring in some of my people to dive into the topic of the week. And then later it will become an episode of the Deb Show podcast. So whether you're watching us live or the replay, we are glad you're here and choosing yourself and your goals. And we've got, I think, a great topic today, and one that you know is important, but I don't think you really think about that much. And it is introducing yourself. And what a great panel I have today. I've got Erin Brown from Hot Red Carpet. She basically, and she'll tell you this too, she basically walks around with the red carpet getting cool people to talk to her. So she will dive a little bit more into that. Lovely to have you, one of my Innovation Women friends here today. And Chad Nedland, who I met through the magic of the internet. He basically said, "Hey, Deb, can I interview you?" And now we are friends. So that's how we do things in this day and age. And I guess it just goes to show an intro can be that brief and that effective. And also we have Nikki Rausch, who is a new friend who comes to us through Julie Fry. And I am really glad anybody with, Maven in their title, they should be on my show anyway. Nikki, really happy to have you here and excited for having you add to the conversation. And let's start with Erin. Erin, please share who you are, why you're here, and introduce yourself.
Okay. Hi, Deb, and everybody joining live or listening to the replay. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Erin Brown, and I am a comic turned MC, facilitator of fun, speaker, and confidence coach. And my company is called Hot Red Carpet, and I give people the red carpet treatment, either individually or groups. I'll get more into that if you'd like to hear. And my goal is to really inspire people to step into their spotlight and share their impact. How was that intro?
That was awesome. And I love that you put the word goal in there because it's me. But we should all have a goal. My goal is to change the way people look at goals in and out of the workplace. So going in with that mission for what it is you do, and you do it in such a fun way. So I'm really glad that you're here. It's great to see you. And I am going to swap over Chad. And Chad, please share, the same. Go. And for some reason, we cannot hear you, Chad.
I was doing the world a favor. My name is Chad Nedland, and I love to leave people on the cliff wondering what's going on, build up that anticipation. One of the things I love to do is I'm a business strategist, and I help people to pull out their own life story and help them to use that so that they can transform the belief of their audience and help them move forward in a more powerful way. One of the things that I love doing is actually diving into the use of story so that we can make our story their story, our life lessons their life lessons. And I'd be happy to help anybody do that at any time because it's just a passion. My goal is to be able to help people open up and serve fully who they have meant to be in the world in a much more powerful way.
Wow, that's awesome. I knew it would be. And when I was preparing, so my theme this month, I decided October is for networking. And basically I said, Chad, what do you want to talk about? And he said, can I come on every week? And I'm like, no, you have to choose. But I think when we were discussing this, I said, I know which one you're going to pick. And here we are. And it's so important because if you can't express who you are, then how do you show up to the world? Mm-hmm. So going to be a great conversation. Glad you are here. Nikki, welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. So I'm Nikki Rausch. My company is Sales Maven. I'm the CEO and founder. And clients now hire me to show them how to have more strategic sales conversations. I do that by teaching a 5-step approach to a sales conversation called the selling staircase. And it's all about boosting confidence and learning how to sell in a way that is authentic and strategic so that you ultimately move through the conversation and get to the place where you close. And the goal of my business is to show women how to confidently make a bigger impact in their life and business through getting comfortable with sales.
In sales, I mean, it's kryptonite for a lot of people, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that is?
I think it's because, one, we've all been on the receiving end of having somebody sell to us in a way that doesn't feel good. And we think, I don't want to leave people having that experience. So people hold themselves back because you don't want to be seen as aggressive or pushy or icky. So it's that, like, learning how to find the balance. So the way that I usually describe it is, most people think that sales is something that you're supposed to do to somebody, and that is why it feels manipulative and gross. But I teach that sales is something you do with somebody. It's a collaborative conversation.
Nice. And so today, I'm sure we will dive into more of how to not be icky in selling and so much more, because whatever conversation, whatever relationship you have, it starts with introducing yourself. See, I thought you'd be more like participatory, but okay, what does it start with?
Introducing yourself.
Okay,
What
yeah,
she
we'll work on
said.
that. I love live. And so I know it's important. It's intrinsically, it's important. But okay, Chad, you tell me, why is the intro so important?
Well, the introduction that we have with people, it's the hook. It's the email subject line. It's the title of the book. It's the name of the movie. If that doesn't catch their attention and draw them in, then they're not going to listen to the rest of your story. And your story is what has the ability to transform their life. And sometimes it's about our business, sometimes it's about our life, but that introduction lets them know exactly who we are and whether or not we're somebody that they need to listen to and their life will benefit from. If we don't do that effectively, then we're doing them a great disservice.
So I love it. So you're saying you have to catch people. I love the examples that you just gave. So what do you say when you introduce people that catches their attention?
I'm I'm usually very cautious about my surroundings, like where people are coming from, where are we located, what is the purpose for being there, why are we having this conversation. One of the ways that I might introduce myself in just a random network event is I'll walk up and be like, hey, my name's Chad. I've randomly slapped a bear 3 times. What have you done interesting lately? And
I
they're
want to
like,
hear that story.
Yes, but please.
thank you. See, and it works, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How
100.
short, how simple. I've slapped a bear 3 times. And then I always go, well, it wasn't the same bear. And all of a sudden the mind goes, you've slapped 3 different. What is wrong with this dude? I want to hear.
Okay,
Another
so are
time-
you going to leave it? Wait, are you going to leave us in suspense?
Well,
or are you going to tell us?
Well, I can tell you the easy way. The first time I slapped a bear. First time I actually slapped a bear is I had a really good family friend, and I had thrown my back out at work, and I needed to get over to therapy on a regular basis, like 3 times a week for lower back therapy. And she's like, hey, just come over, stay at my place. I run in and out of town every day because I work there at a salon. She says, you stay here. It'll all be good. And I'm like, all right, cool. Well, she had a 15-year-old daughter, and we were coming home from therapy one session. She picked up her daughter. We're on our way home. We get invited over to her mom's place. We go have lunch. We come back. It's dark. And as we're pulling up the driveway, we see something go into the garage. And we didn't know what. Now, I don't live a life of fear. I just don't anymore. And I was like, well, you guys stay in the car. I'm going to go see what it was, flush it out of the garage. No big deal. Well, I get out of the car. I didn't see the same dark figure go around the corner of the garage. They did. And they're like, Chad, get back in. I'm like, no, I'm good. So I walk in the garage and I'm like making a little bit of noise. I'm like, well, where'd it go? And I start walking out the garage and I turn the corner to look on the side of the garage. And there's this mama bear sitting there staring straight at me. Now, I've spent quite a bit of time in the woods. So, be bigger than the thing coming at you and make a lot of noise. And I did what any natural person would do. I just swung back and smacked that thing in the nose.
God.
It tucked tail, turned, and ran straight back into the woods because bears actually do not like confrontation. They will protect themselves if they feel threatened, but they don't like confrontation. So what's the best thing you can do in that situation? For me, scare the daylights out of it.
Wow.
Do what it doesn't expect. And
Better,
it took off
better
and headed
it than
into
you.
the woods.
So
Yeah,
better
better
it
than you.
be scared than you.
I'm like, if this thing's going to beat the tar out of me, I'm going to get one good licking, But that's one of those stories that it's easy, it's short, it's, and it's natural. It's not like I'm out, hunting bears and trying to be some great wild person. It's like, look, I went out there. I wanted to make sure that my friends, people I cared about, were okay. And so I went and I put myself in between them and possible harm, and I lucked out, real simple. But in a quick little story like that, think about all of the things that a person can learn about you. So when you think about an introduction story, say, is the story that I'm going to tell going to give them an accurate representation of who I am? Not is it engaging, but will it be an accurate representation of who I am? And when you do that,
I think we did.
Yeah. And when we do that, we get to connect really powerfully.
I love that. That is awesome. Erin, you get to follow that.
Yeah. I mean, that's like a great icebreaker no matter what. And the other way it could have gone is after you said it was 3 different bears, then someone could have slowly backed away or maybe slapped you. Just playing that, like looking at you as the bear. But yeah, I think that I agree with everything Chad just said, but you have such a finite moment to capture someone's attention, and whether it's in person or, like I'm relaunching a new website this week. Mm-hmm. Shameless plug. But, I learned so much just from doing that process, because it's like, especially the homepage, you have like 10 seconds to grab someone's attention. And I think it's also really important to, in a live in-person situation, well, also virtually, just any live situation, to read the room, mm-hmm. and to listen and observe kind of what's going on before you're always opening your mouth, and maybe to be strategic. I don't know if that's the right word, but just kind of get a feeling of like where the circle's open, that's might want to hear what you have to say or be open to it. That's part of something I've learned over the years. Instead of always like talking, is listening, mm-hmm. is so much more important, I think, when you engage with people. So it's the first impression. And also it's like, it's not always talking that gets people's attention. It's just being seen and, putting off some kind of energy. And if you're in one of those kind of networking situations where it's, a big meeting and everyone's trying to meet each other and exchange business cards, be very mindful of all your behavior, because people are probably watching you even more, be yourself, but it can go a long way. Like just how you treat anyone, like the person at the door or the bartender or whoever, I think that also goes a long way of just knowing, like, you never knew who's paying attention to you. Mm-hmm. So you only get that one time to make a first impression.
Absolutely. And I love that point that you brought up. It's not just what comes out of your mouth. It is the way that you present the whole you. Mm-hmm. And so an intro is more than just the words that describe you. So mm-hmm. that's so important. Nikki, what do you think? What is your take on the importance of the intro?
Well, the importance of the intro, like I think Erin said, you really have a very small window to make a powerful first impression. I think they say that people make up to 10 judgments in the first 10 seconds of seeing and meeting you. So what are you doing in those first 10 seconds? Are you inviting people in with your facial expressions, with your body language, or do you seem shut down? Do you seem like you're not interested? Are you not approachable? And then in the conversation, I truly believe, just like in sales or anything, in order to have real conversation, there needs to be back and forth. And one of the ways that you can get some back and forth going is by asking a question. So if you're not asking questions and you're just talking, now you're talking at people. Most of us don't want to be talked at. We want to be talked with. So there should be some type of a question. My suggestion is that you have a question that you would ask somebody that would allow for them to then ask you the question back, because you can be the guide in that particular situation. You can kind of take the lead and see where the conversation goes. So if you want to ask somebody, like, what's something really exciting going on for you right now? Or, I mean, Chad's example, come on, that was amazing. But if you ask somebody, like, what's something exciting going on for you right now? And they can share, chances are they're going to ask you that question back. Now, your response back is a perfect opportunity for you to create curiosity. This is part of what I teach in the selling staircase. You have to create some curiosity with your answer back. So your answer back should be something that you want to talk about, that's probably business related, if that's important to you, and is something that gives somebody just a taste of the answer. And if they want no more, they can then ask another question. That's where the conversation is really starting to happen and unfold.
I love it. It's the interactivity. So it's all the elements. It's the you saying who you are, it's showing who you are, and then that engagement to bring the conversation to a deeper level.
Yes. Be willing. And here's one other thing I will say, especially in networking meetings, please say your name. Don't wait for someone to read it on your name tag, especially if you have a name that can easily be mispronounced or can be somewhat hard to say. People are unsure of it. So say your name so that it invites people to get to know your name, and also it encourages them to say their name. So don't just walk up and say, hi, it's nice to meet you. What brought you here today? Walk up and say, hi, I'm Nikki. It's so nice to meet you. And your name is? Like, ask for their name too, but make sure you say your name.
Again, more of that direct contact to, I don't want to say suck people into a conversation, but to suck people into a conversation, because the more personal you are, it is setting the stage for the entire conversation. So,
yeah. I want to jump in there, if I may, for a sec. It's like, when you're setting the stage, I did comedy for a long time, and I learned early on to read the room. And also this applies to speakers, right? I mean, or any kind of forum where you're presenting, you want to be as much yourself in your own shoes and relaxed and ready to give to an audience that hopefully wants to receive what you're offering. But if you go up there as nervous Nelly and completely unsure of yourself, you're going to put the entire audience like in the same state, and they're going to be more worried about you doing well instead of like enjoying what you have to say, or, depending on the situation, receiving whatever information. So, and also like specifically with comedy, it was like, if you don't get a laugh in the first like 15 seconds, they're probably not going to stay with you for the next 10 minutes. So it's important to not necessarily hit them hard and hit them fast, but again, in those first 10 seconds, tell them you slammed a bear.
Well, that was really going to be my next question. Was we've got Chad's quick intro. What is your quick, memorable intro, Erin? And then we'll go to Nikki.
Oh my gosh, it's so funny. I'm like, now I'm kind of thinking of one. I guess I could say, hi, I'm Erin Brown, and you are, because Nikki just taught me that. And I jumped off a bridge in Ecuador. I don't know. Could leave him hanging with that.
Okay, and then what happened?
Was there anybody chasing you? Or was that just
I survived. And I was going to get a t-shirt that said, if all your friends were jumping off a bridge, would you? And it said, hell yeah.
Yes.
I looked back and yes, they were.
Yeah.
Oh, too funny. So what about you, Nikki? Do you have one of those double take sort of intros?
Yeah, I don't think I have one that's that like really short. I guess mine is really like, what's something exciting going on for you right now? Or what's something new that you've done or tried lately? I like to ask questions. So that's my thing, is usually it's going to be a question. to the other person, because chances are they're going to come back at me with that question and give me an opportunity to answer it as well.
Nice. It's another way of treating people the way you want to be treated, right? It's ask people what you want to be asked. One thing I do, because I'm such an extrovert, is, and Erin and I have been in a bunch of networking things together. I don't know if you've noticed this, but I actually force myself not to go first because I always want to go first. So for me, that's the trick, is to let other people go first and do more of that observing, because I'll dive in. Obviously, I will dive in anywhere.
If I can
I just killed my entire conversation. Yes, Chad, please.
Erin hit this. I think we both actually kind of tapped this right at the beginning of when you started talking, is the fact that reading that room, taking that time to do the important aspect of shutting your mouth. Like, as extroverts, as speakers, as presenters, we have this habit of, we walk out with a very confident air because of who we are, and we know the value that we bring. But does it matter the value that we have to bring if we haven't stopped to make sure that the value we're bringing matches the need in the room? And I like to study presenters. I love watching them at events and things like that. And one thing I've noted is the most powerful speakers on stage are the ones who are most silent when they enter the room, because they pay attention to what's going on. And I've been working on that because I'm a talker. But I've noticed my presentations are much more powerful when I start a presentation by listening to the audience and having them do an exchange with me. And that way, all of a sudden, we connect and we engage. And I think that's really super powerful in the introduction as well, is, as Nikki brought up, finding a way to say something that would attract a response, engage a response. Like, hi, my name's Chad. Do you know how when people start their introductions and it just seems like it falls on dead air? I fixed that.
Nice.
And then just stop talking. They're going to have to respond with one of two things: risk their introduction, or ask, how do you do that? So yeah, just a matter of just breaking in there and just saying, hey, you know what, sit back, wait, say something and wait. That's the hard part for me.
So I was just going to ask, you keep answering the questions before I ask them, which I'm totally fine with. But one way to stay memorable is to walk in memorable. What do you think, Nikki? What is your, I know you've already thrown out a lot of information, but there's more to be said, I am sure.
Well, one of the things I think when you think about walking in memorable is that there does need to be this confidence. And, whether you're speaking, whether you're attending a networking meeting, whatever you're doing, know that you are on from the first second that somebody can see you. And that could be in the parking lot, getting out of your car. That could actually be driving to the event, because if somebody notices, like, oh my gosh, this jerk just cut me off. And then you show up at the event and you're the jerk that cut the person off. Like, you've already made your impression. So wherever I'm going, as soon as I leave the house, I'm on. And I think about that I'm on. And when I get there, the idea is to set myself up to make a powerful first impression. For me, it's all about being credible and being kind. So that has to show on my face. That has to show in my body language and the way that I approach people. I think it's super important to remember that you are on from the second that people can see you, observe you. So, you can be screaming on your cell phone and having an argument and then walk into an event and put a smile on your face. That's not what people are going to associate with you. They're going to associate this lady was screaming at somebody on her cell phone, right? So remember these things, you're on. Just like on camera too. I was just going to say, nothing drives me more crazy than when somebody gets on camera and they're fixing their hair, fixing their lipstick, and doing the thing. And it's like, people can see you. You're on camera, right? You're live right now. Remember that people can see you. Erin, I think we should be friends because I love your sense of humor so
Done.
much. Ah, I love that you just did that.
And for those who are listening to this on the podcast, Erin just took out her lip gloss and was straightening as Nikki was talking. So, yes, if you love listening to podcasts, fine, but you can go to thedebmethod.com/blog for the recaps and watch this humorous moment, which gets less humorous the more I describe it. The other thing that I was just going to add, because what you're saying, it's so right on. Even if you're screaming at somebody in your car, not me, but said person is screaming at someone in their car and no one sees you but you just experienced that. So I always tell people, if you're not in the mood to go to a networking event, unless you have to, don't go, because going into it with that attitude is going to impact it. So if you're aggravated before you walk in, no one has to see you getting aggravated, but you're still going to show that bit of you. So
I have a story that happened, if I could share it.
Please.
Well, two, actually, really quickly. I went to, this was a couple of years ago in Hollywood. I will not expose anyone's name, but it was a breathwork class, the session. And this guy he's just definitely not the person I would go to again, not my approach. It was a little too like hardcore. But before this, somebody talked him up to me like, he's amazing, he's the best. And very similar to what Nikki said, I caught the backstage before he went on stage, and he was literally screaming at someone on the phone. And I'm like, I'm going to go for 90 minutes and learn how to breathe and release things from this guy. Like, he's got some issues. And even like his actual class, and that might be his style, but he was like, part of it was doing affirmations, and I just found it so comical. And also I couldn't even relax. It was like, I am radiant. Like, it was just so like, not my style, but because I couldn't also get the image of my mind out of my mind of what I just had experienced of him. Because I feel like that we all have moments, we're human, right? Like, we're going to have difficult days. But to me, my gut was like, this guy is more like that on a regular basis than, other people maybe in his field. And then another little story that it reminded me of my grandparents a million years ago. They met in New York City, and it was like a pouring rain night, and they both went to the same party. My grandmother was friends with this woman, Laura, and my grandfather was friends with the husband. And it was pouring rain. She was trying to get a cab. She was leaving work, and she tried to get a cab, and some big lummox, as she called it, took her cab. She goes to the party, and she's soaking wet, and she tells her friend about this lummox, which I love that word. She's like, and he's sitting right there. And that ended up being my grandfather. And at the end of the night, he was like, come on, Blondie, I'll take you home, since this was, again, probably, when did they get married? In the 30s? But yeah, which is, talk about interesting first impressions.
What a meet cute, right? Or a meet not so cute.
Yes.
Right?
Very messy and wet.
Great story. So what other tips do you have, Erin, about staying memorable?
I think it's good to have a calling card of some sort if you can, even if in my personal experience, it was literally by default, this red carpet shtick that turned into a business. I never had that vision or intention, but it was really just going with the flow. And I, crashed an event. I just really created my own red carpet event with a red bath mat on Hollywood Boulevard one Monday afternoon, a long time ago, before there was like YouTube stars, and it was funny. And it was a one-note joke, and a friend kind of dared me to do it again. And I thought, why? It's been done. He's like, do it again. There's something there. And that's when I lucked out, and I got Tom Hanks and Rita Wilson on my red carpet at this small event. And I was like, oh, there's something here. So it sort of evolved into, I was known as the red carpet girl. And there used to be this event called Tube Filter back in the day at Busby's in Hollywood. And it was for a lot of like content creators. And I really, in that circle, it was like, oh, you're the girl with the red carpet. And it was like, I could have been like, oh, I do a million other things. But I was like, yeah, that's me, just like owning it. People associated me with it. They enjoyed it. So it was a good icebreaker. Like, even when I didn't know certain people, they would come up to me and say, oh, are you the one that that crashes stuff with like a red bath mat. Did you bring your red bath mat tonight? So any kind of way you can have some kind of calling card, I think is always a great idea. As long as it's also like true and authentic on some level, you know, and original.
And in with your brand, I have these gold stars. And back when I started leading gold groups, one day someone said, "Where's my gold star?" The next week, I brought the stickers, and they were kidding. I wasn't. And sometimes, you know, embracing the things that make sense, that are related to you. It doesn't have to be a big deal. Back in real life events, I bring my stars everywhere. You know, you're here, great job. So finding that thing so people remember you is huge. And so Nikki, what do people remember when they meet you, other than you're you and you're awesome?
Well, I will say, you kind of building off of Erin's example of her red carpet, which now I'm like, I want to go look for those and see Erin on her red carpet, her bath mat red carpet. I love that idea. I will say that somebody said to me one time, I teach buying signals, how to recognize and identify buying signals, how to act on them. And my second book was about buying signals. And one of my clients said to me one time, like, yeah, I get this whole concept of buying signals, but I feel like I need like an antenna or something. And I immediately went and bought these little like headbands with these little antenna bobbers on top. And so when I would go and speak, I used to give out buying signal antennas for people in the room. And so I have so many pictures of people walking around with these headbands and these little bobbers, you know, going crazy, because that was my thing. Now, that's not the thing that I do so much anymore, because most of my stuff now is online and, you know, it's virtual. So it doesn't make sense for me to be the person sitting there with this like bobbing headband on. But yeah, so the buying signal antenna thing was a big deal. And really, like you said about you, Deb, and the gold star, is somebody said to you, "Where's my gold star?" And you're like, "I'll make that happen." You can make just about anything happen, which is so great. And that can become very much a part of who you are and your brand.
I love that. And it's so true. And the big thing that I teach, you know, Deb, determine your mission, explore your options, brainstorm your path. When you start with that foundation, when you know the core of who you are, then it is so much easier to express that when you're sharing yourself with the world. And then also identifying the things that go hand in hand with who you are and expressing yourself to the world. So Chad, I hope you've got a good answer. And if you don't, I'm sure you'll make one up. Do you have something?
Thanks for the vote of confidence.
What do you do when people meet you? I mean, you're memorable. We're all going to remember the bear thing. But do you have like a physical something or other and hand out your calling card? That word.
Connection. And I know that sounds like separate from like, you know, the star, the antennas or anything like that, but it's that matter of connection. If we're in person, I will shake your hand. And when I shake your hand, I'm not the guy that shakes it twice and says, "Hey, good to meet you." And, you know, we didn't go on with what we're going to say. It's I shake your hand and then I just pause. And that moment where you just look that person in the eye and let them know that they are not only just the only person in the room, but they're the most important person in the room. When you do that with somebody, they will instantly remember you, because 99% of the people that they run into at that event did not take the time to stop, look them in the eye, and acknowledge them for who they are. When you do that, they don't run away about the bear story afterwards, Erin. Because I got their hand. See, they can't. No. But most importantly, I think it just amazes me. I just realized, you know, we're half an hour into this. We have 4 powerhouse presenters and connectors sitting in this room, and we forgot the most important thing of our introduction. Smile. We smile when we show up. I mean, Deb, we got on the call. We hadn't even said a word, and we had huge smiles and started laughing. Like, these are the things that make us feel approachable by the other people in the room. And I think that comes with that pre-state. Do we change our state before we walk in the room? And there's 3 questions that I usually do to make that happen. But that's how we know that when we walk in the room that we're approachable, we're pleasant to be around. We've decided to be that person that people will remember. And when you walk in there with that mentality and we read the room ahead of time, it just comes natural what to do and how to say it.
I can't believe no one said smile, but that's what we're all doing, right? And you're right. Well, for me, it's just natural. This is it. You know, who Deb is on Goal Chat Live, the Deb Show, whatever, anywhere, is really authenticity. That's the word.
Mm-hmm.
Being authentic and also really caring when you're talking to people is going to show, because so many people are there to, like, where's those people are like, do they get a prize for giving out the most business cards? What is the point of giving out business cards if you're only going to be remembered as the guy who gave out a ton of business cards?
That's one way to be remembered.
That's true.
You know, that reminds
Not in a positive
me.
way, but
That reminds me. I went to a networking event in 1998, and it was all about Google Ads. And everybody was out swapping business cards left and right. In fact, I went to Vistaprint and got them printed out just so I could make this event. And this guy walked up and he handed me the business card. He's like, "Hi, my name is Derek. I help people not be forgotten." And that was it. And I was like, okay. And then he turned around and he walked away. And I took the business card and I stuck it in my pocket, along with all of the other business cards. I went back to the motel that night. We had one more day to go. And I'm going through the business cards. And I was like, that's Derek. It was a business card with absolutely nothing written on it. It was just a blank piece of paper. But you know, he was the one person that didn't have anything on it. And I'm like, there was just something about the way that he presented that, like, I don't let anybody get forgotten. And then there was no information. And it just triggered my brain. How it worked, I had no idea, but it was genius. I went back there and I talked to him the other day. I was like, why do you pass out a bunch of empty business cards? He goes, well, everybody else has got something written on it. He says, do you have any idea how many people came back and wanted to ask me more about my business because they didn't know anything about me? He says, I was memorable, but then I didn't give them any additional information and they had to come back and talk to me a second time. He says, and now I won't be forgotten. And I was like, wow, does that work? But just like we said, we all have those interesting, weird things that we do, whether it be our antennas or stars or, you know, showing up with a bath mat. Me, I just show up. I mean, I'm notorious for an event, you know, spitting my dentures out halfway through the presentation just to tell people straight out, see, if I can do that and keep presenting, there's no reason that you can't move forward against your goals too. You know, and we just keep right on going, which I'm happy because I can talk better without my dentures in. You know, but celebrate who we are. Yeah, exactly. Celebrate who we are. All of our quirks, our fun points, our bad points. You know, I love the fact that my lighting is a little blown out. I got a little red dot on my nose, right? All the way through high school, I used to crack jokes. I'm like, are you kidding? God has such a good sense of humor. It gave me a clown nose. I could have looked at it and been self-conscious about it, but instead I chose to just find the humor in it. How many times do we celebrate who we are and share it authentically with the world? That makes us memorable because most of the people we talk to are afraid to be who they are. But when you give them permission, they love you.
This is a very good point. And knowing who you are and not being afraid to show who you are, boom, memorable city, right?
Yeah.
But you have to start, again, going back to Deb, when you know who you are, everything else is easy. but you have to start by getting to know who you are to your core. So thank you for that tangent. Amazing. Is there anything else before we go down into, because I also want to talk about, we've got the intro, but I also want to go to the follow-up. So the opposite side. There's one thing, meeting people, but I guess I want to say it's like staying met is another. That's not the right phrase. What do you do after, and I'll start with Nikki on this because I'm sure she's got a ton on this one. What's next? You meet people, you connect, you do the things, then what?
So for me, if I meet somebody and I suspect that there's an opportunity for us to be, if there's some reason for us to stay connected, either they have something that I would benefit from, or they have expressed some type of interest in the things that I do, I always ask for a next appointment, a next time for us to connect and meet. And so if I'm at a networking meeting, I actually do this thing where I say, I carry my calendar right here on my phone, and I pull my phone up and I pull up my calendar app and I go, what do you think about us scheduling another time just to chat, to get to know each other better? And then I look at my phone and I wait. Silence, back to Chad's point. Like, use a little silence here. Most of the time, people will pull their phone out and then we'll schedule our next time to meet. And then from there, you're just building relationship. You're making, I call them rapport deposits. Like, I have a bank account with everybody I come into contact with. My goal is to make as many rapport deposits as possible, because I know me, and every once in a while I make a misstep, and that's going to be a withdrawal. So I want to build up a balance with people. I want to, get to know people and have authentic, real conversations. And that's only going to happen by us continuing to have conversations. So schedule your next time to meet, because giving somebody your business card and saying like, hey, if you're interested, call me or reach out, they're going to do maybe what Chad did, which is take it back to his room, maybe look through them. But most people are just going to take them back to their office, and they're going to set them on their desk or in a drawer, and it's just going to get stacked, more business cards on top of more business cards on. And then at some point, they're just going to throw them away. If I really want to be connected to you, I'm going to invite you to a next step with me.
This is great. I love your terminology, rapport deposits. And I'm such a fan of what you said. People end up with these stacks. What do they do with them? And one of the things that I do is I do workshops on how to get the most out of the events you attend. And somebody once asked me, I said, now, when you meet people, connect with them on LinkedIn, start conversations, then continue them. And they said, what do I do with the box of business cards from, my life until now? I said, throw them out. If you want to do a once over like Chad, pick out maybe one or two people, but you're never going to catch up if you don't start the right way.
That's right.
And Chad, I know your next step is to like stare them into being a connection with. Then what?
I always go into every situation understanding one thing, and this is just my approach. I understand that I attract people who love me, and those who don't love me will have a nice walk in the other direction, because those that are attracted to me are going to be the people that I can collaborate with, I can partner with, I can serve with, and most importantly, I can laugh with. And the rest of them, they ain't my people. So I always operate on the assumption that if they're talking to me, they are like me. And if they're like me, I assume that they want to continue the conversation. So I'll throw out a simple conversation. When I know the conversation's getting short, we're running out of time, be like, oh man, this has been such a blast. I can't wait to finish this conversation. What time works for you to connect later? Because I'm working on that assumption that we are going to finish this conversation. It's not even just the ask so much as like, it's just the assumption, because I want to finish it. It's not done. And if they're here, they're like me, they're going to want to finish this conversation because we're awesome, right? And it's amazing how positively I'm met with that. Very seldom I don't think I've ever actually had somebody go, yeah, I don't think that's going to work here. So you just got to make them that offer they can't refuse, and just assume that you're amazing and they see that in you because you see that in them. And one of the other key things that I always keep in mind is, as much as I want to be remembered, I want to find the memorable thing about the person I'm talking to. That's more important to me than being remembered. It's making sure that they feel valued. Because the next time I talk to them, like next time I talk to Nikki, maybe it's going to be a year from now, 6 years from now. When I see Nikki, I'm going to look at her and I'll be like, hey, where's the antennas? And that's what she's going to do. She's going to laugh because all of a sudden she's going to go back and she'll be like, where on earth did he know about the antennas? We've been online for 6 years. I haven't. Oh my gosh. Now she's racking her brain to find the connection with me. She's going to find that thing. So think about what makes that person feel valued and remember that, because that's going to be the very thing that keeps that connection. You don't want to build a relationship without connection because they just fall apart. Find something to connect with that person on and then build your relationship, and it'll be a foundation that's solid and that will last probably a lifetime.
And thank you also for illustrating why I love doing my show in this format, because I get to introduce cold people to each other and start these conversations as well. And then most of the people who I have on the show, I'll look and they'll say, oh, so-and-so interviewed so-and-so. Where'd they meet? Oh yeah, they were on this episode together. So This is really, I think, the power in the way that I do Gold Chat Live is because you now are all bonded by this common experience, which is another way to stay memorable when you meet people at events. So, Erin, what is your secret for the follow-up?
I don't know if I have a secret, but you guys just nailed it. I love Nikki just busting out the calendar right then and there. I find myself connecting with people just, we find each other online in the moment, like LinkedIn or whatever. But I really like the idea of setting up the meeting then and there with someone who I feel a really strong connection with. So I might have to, I'm going to take that from you, if I may. And I'm very good about doing the follow-up. Like I will say that, like, if I either it's a stack of business cards or it's a bunch of LinkedIn people that I met online, I just block time for myself within the next 48 hours. I think you got to do it. Hopefully the next day, even like the sooner, the better. And if it's like longer than that, then I might rethink, maybe I really don't need to connect with this person. They're not at top of mind. That's not always 100% correct, but more than not, it is. It's like nobody wants to I don't care how many people I have on LinkedIn following me or whatnot, if it's not, people that I'm actually communicating with on somewhat of a regular basis. So I am very good at doing the follow-up myself. And if you don't hear from them right away, do that second follow-up. It's important. And if it's somebody you really, really want to get on their calendar or get, in a meeting, I think third time's a charm. And I know that's happened to me. And then it's like, okay, I'll let it go. If this person, I worked an event with somebody and I really thought it would be a great partnership. And after my third email, I didn't hear. So I'm like, oh, okay, guess it wasn't mutual. It's almost like dating in a way. So yeah, as they say, the fortune is in the follow-up. But I love doing it right then and there if you're really feeling it that strongly, and just because we're all busy people and it is easy to forget things too. So I would do both.
Yes. And I am a huge fan of the LinkedIn follow-up. And even if it's just we met at here and we were in line, or we had coffee, or we ate this food together at this networking event, or whatever it is that makes you memorable to them, but also makes them memorable to you as well. So something else to throw into this wonderful mix of conversation. This is so much fun.
It's even like when you're following up, not necessarily from a networking event, but just like working with a new client. Or I remember back in the day when I was interviewing for jobs, like that thank you letter, like that follow up, or I literally write people like a handwritten note on it's like branded stationery. And who writes handwritten notes anymore? They're memorable because you're not getting something in the mail like that. And it's just a quick little note. So anything that you can do to sort of get them to open it in a way that is not the average thing where they're not getting 20 envelopes with personalized thank you notes that day.
And that's going to make you feel good too. You know, it's not just about, they're going to be really excited when they get the letter, but writing the letter and expressing how cool it was to meet this person or hear them speak or whatever, that's also going to be good for you too. So we're always looking for those win-win. The other, or win-win-win-win-win situations. The other thing that you mentioned, which I think is so important, Erin, is the, you know, third time's the charm. If not, then it's like, it's a no, or maybe it's a not yet. You don't know what's going on in their life. And if things are, I'm going to sound so Californian, if things are meant to be, you will encounter, because we've all met people, I don't know, I have met the same person over and over until it sticks. Sometimes you just have to do that until it sticks. Okay, silence again. Which is good. Silence is good. You're listening, waiting. What will Deb say next? I'm listening. I got it all going on.
Total different California. When I first moved to LA, I moved here from New York, and to chat. I loved, by the way, when you were saying just like, you know, really making eye contact and like that handshake is critical. And I came out here and people were like, good luck making friends out there. I'm like, yeah, okay. It's not really been an issue for me. And then I came out here and realized, oh, it's easier. It's very easy to meet people, but it's, you know, it took a little time to meet real friends. That could be any big city. I don't know. But I remember going to an event, like a party with a friend of mine. And the first guy I met, he shook my hand, and this is me and him. And he's like, hey, yeah, nice to meet you. I was like, I'm right here. I'm right here. And it was so LA of like, kind of, who are you with and how can you help me? And like, or is this going to work for me? You know, it was so gross. So yeah, eye contact.
Oh my goodness. I haven't had that problem in LA.
Oh my God. Well, maybe it was more of like Hollywood, but still, it's just no bueno.
It's the club. I had a buddy of mine in the service when I was in the Army, and we would go out to the club on a Friday night, and he would always end up dating the one person that everybody else in the unit just couldn't seem to find approachable. And I asked him what he was doing. He said, oh, it's really simple. He says, I go up and introduce myself to all of their friends. Not the one that's all popular, not the one that everybody's giving the attention to. He says, I give my attention to the people that are being ignored. He says it does two things. You're highly remembered to the people that weren't given any attention. He says, but all of a sudden, all of the attention of the person who's normally gets the attention is now on you, because they're trying to figure out why. Why are they not acknowledging me? Why are they not paying attention to me? And all of a sudden, he says, all of a sudden, you become the center of attention for the entire table. And I never really thought about that until you started talking about California. It just brought back an old memory. But how important is that, though? Like when we walk into a room and we survey who we're going to talk to, how do we choose who the first people is? Are we shaking that hand going, who's the important one in the room? And disregarding the one person that may absolutely transform our life. Because we don't know them yet.
Yeah. And also I think it's important, at least it was a learning experience, because I genuinely am curious about people, but there's also, our time is so valuable and precious. So who I give my time and energy to, it's a privilege. I don't mean that in any kind of egotistical way. Like we all have gifts to bring to the world. So it's important too, because there are, you know, like what they call them, energy vampires, who will, because I'm asking a million questions, will suck the life out of you. And before you know it, the event's almost over and you didn't actually touch base with, you know, if you have a goal to meet, I want to meet 5 people tonight or whatever. So I've also learned to have those barriers too, even if it's a great conversation, like kind of to what Nikki, this is a great conversation, or both of you said, let's continue it another time. Because we are both looking to probably max out on the quality connections that we can make at that particular time.
Nikki.
I was going to say, you can absolutely end a conversation gracefully and leave the person feeling valued. One of the ways that I often will do this is I will say, I have so enjoyed our conversation and I would love to connect. I'll issue that invitation, you know, possibly for us to do a follow-up if it makes sense, get it time on our calendars. But if it doesn't make sense, then I'll just say, I've so valued this time with you. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. I want to give you a chance to go work the, like mingle around the rest of the room and connect with people. So I'm just going to shake your hand and say, I hope to see you again soon. And then in my mind, that's a little bit of a bless and release. I use bless and release in a lot of different contexts, but I want to bless and release the person so they can move on, and also so that I can move on and hit that goal that I have set for myself. Because I also set goals when I go walk into a networking opportunity. Otherwise, I will be the person who will just sit at the table and like people watch, because that's super fun and interesting for me. And it's also not good for my business. So I have to set that goal before I go in the room and make myself connect with people.
I love this term, bless and release. There's power to it. Some it's great, let's meet again. The other is this has been wonderful. I'm going to let you meet more people.
Yeah.
So exiting gracefully, I think, is important. And I don't think it's, at least with online networking, it's really not the same, because the breakout room will be over, or there's always a time on those, in which case, you do your intros, or you have your little intro in the chat, and then you can mark down and connect with the people that you really feel this connection with, right? But to be able to do that, and even in those conversations, we've all been in those rooms where, okay, is it over yet? Is it over yet? The energy vampires. And sometimes you have to look at those as blessings too. Okay, what did I learn? Okay, let's move on, right?
Yeah. And if the person won't let you go, they just keep talking, it's also okay to just say, I need to excuse myself. Thank you so much for this conversation, and I hope to see you again. You don't even have to say, I hope to see you again. You can just say, thank you so much for this conversation. I need to excuse myself. And then you can just walk away. And that's not, shaming anybody or making them feel less than. It's just also honoring. I think Erin said it beautifully when she's like, my time is valuable, and it's not an ego thing, but there's a privilege to that time, and it's precious, and we need to treat it as such.
Mm-hmm. I've never heard the term bless and release like that. But it's a much prettier way than I've been told. Stop vomiting all over the people you talk to.
Yes,
right.
No word vomiting.
Word vomit, because in some situations it's good to overwhelm the people you're talking with so that you can help them understand what they don't know. Introductions are not the time for that. That is not the time for that. In fact, when I get done talking, I want you asking a question, because you don't have the answers yet. If I answer all the questions, if you say everything that needs to be said today, there is no conversation tomorrow. So sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is, we've all said this so many times tonight, it's just crazy. There's power in the silence. And it's been said, millions are made and lost in the silence.
Well, I am nodding, and again, not great for the podcast, but perfect for a live show conversation. And I can't believe we've been talking almost an hour, and I'm sure we can do another hour, as Chad and I have had some long chats. I think when you interviewed me, I came on and I said, really, you booked 2 hours for this? And yep, we used about 2 hours for free.
And we cut it short.
And we cut it short because I had another meeting. Before we wrap, I would love for you all to gift a goal to the audience. So what is something that they could do today, tonight, tomorrow to get better at introducing themselves, or anything in the scope of intros? Nikki, do you want to start us out by gifting a goal?
Here's my gifting the goal. And I don't know if you noticed this. I did this in my introduction. If you're there to talk about your business, talk about who hires you instead of who you help. It's a one way to differentiate yourself from everybody else that says, I help people do da 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 da. If you say, people hire me to learn how to, or people hire me to show them how to do such and such, it's a way to differentiate yourself. So create that sentence for yourself and then say it to 10 people and see how it lands. This clients hire me to do such and such, or clients work with me to accomplish XYZ goal, instead of I help. It's in your introduction. It will differentiate you from everybody else.
Oh, that's great. I love that. And believe it, this, I talk to a lot of people. I think this is the first time I've heard it put that way. This is really fantastic. Thank you, Nikki. Chad, what goal would you like to gift?
Well, again, we use the same thing that I like to do is ask a question in their mind by making a statement about your outcome. So if you work with me, this is the outcome. And I did that with Nikki. You know how most marketers spend the majority of their time trying to build an audience and then trying to get them to know, like, and trust, but they're never making any sales? I solved that. And what you do is you stop, is you say, oh, that's an outcome I want. And then you just go, yeah, I solved that. And leave them with that question. Again, if we tell them everything, then there is no conversation later. So pique their interest by saying, this is the outcome. This is the problem they're currently having. And the outcome is we fix it. We solve that thing. So if you can identify with their problem, they're going to want to know the answer. And if they can't identify with the thing you fix, probably not the right person to follow up with, because there's not something that you're going to connect on.
Okay, so can you give me an example of this question? Because I like this.
You know how most people set their goals, but they never seem to figure out how to achieve them? I solved that.
Ah.
You know how most Hollywood actors and actresses end up showing up looking like they haven't showered for a week? I solved that.
Okay.
Oh, that's amazing.
You know how most people show up at networking events, but they never really walk away having actually received any value? I solved that.
Wow.
We've uncovered Chad's superpower, clearly.
Seriously. He's like a
So
crime
good.
solver. Where's your cape?
Wow, where is your cape?
I like it.
My
It's also,
kids
I feel
took
like it's the power of the pause is kind of built into your goal.
Mhm.
Silence.
Yeah, it's so what you're doing is you're saying, what problem do I solve? Like, what is my outcome? And then you reverse engineer it and say, what is most likely their problem? Like, I help people leverage other people's audience. So what's their problem? Their problem is they don't have a large enough audience of their own. I solved that.
Bam.
So think in your mind, think about the outcome that you provide for your clients. Again, like Nikki said, don't talk about your business, talk about their outcome, but then reverse engineer it and say, what's their problem? And then just tell them you fix that. It's going to make them want to talk to you. So think about the solution you offer, figure out what problem that it solves, and then just say, I fix that. And I would say same thing with that Nikki said. Just go start telling that to people over and over again. Call your mother tonight and
Practice.
solve that problem. Practice with your mother. If anything, I will have improved a relationship with your mother. So it'll be a good thing.
There you go. Erin, what do you think?
A couple things on the practice thing. I think, and for anyone that gets nervous at these types of events, there's so many different ways to practice. We can record ourselves on our phones or on Zoom, audio or visual or both. I think it's important to practice your intro so you feel really comfortable with it. Practice like who you're talking to. Like for me, I offer a couple of different things. Sometimes the audience overlaps and sometimes it doesn't. So just get yourself used to it. And then the other goal I would invite the audience to do for anyone who's sort of nervous about these types of events is to sign up for 1 or 2 networking events, both in person and virtually, and just practice. And don't beat yourself up. If you thought you just were terrible, it's like just leave it at the door. Just, give yourself a break. and just maybe celebrate that you actually showed up.
I think that's wonderful. Gold stars for showing up. I mean, if you're watching or listening, you all get gold stars because you wanted to learn how to do this better. So to give yourself those, celebrate those wins, no matter how small they are, go for it. And I love that the goal is to go to more networking events. So yes, these are really wonderful because you can't practice if you don't go to the places and do the things. Wow, this has been, and agreed, we could go another hour on this, but I want to respect their time and your time. Please, friends, tell everyone how they can learn more about you. Erin?
Yes, if you go to my website, it's hotredcarpet.com. You'll find everything you need to know and more. If you click on it, probably the end of the week, it'll be a newer website. But all my socials are on that as well. It's, at Hot Red Carpet on Twitter, LinkedIn, Hot Red Carpet, and Facebook. So
Excellent.
Yep. And Instagram.
Fantastic. And Chad, where can people learn more about you?
I'm a weird feller. You can do one of two things. You can go to chadnedland.com and you can just sign up for my email and you will automatically get to a thank you page where book a call with me. I love talking to new people. I love to connect. I love to engage with people, and I love to tell crazy random stories about my exciting life. So that's one way to do it. Otherwise, grab my name, grab yahoo.com, throw them together and say hello. Everything starts with conversation and everything starts with connection. So that's the easiest way to do it.
Fantastic. And Nikki, where can people find you?
Okay, I'm going to wrap mine around a gift if I can. So, for the audience that would like to have some more tips around sales specifically, you can get it by going to yoursalesmaven.com/Deb. You'll get my Closing the Sale ebook. It will teach you ways to boost your confidence in those sales conversations. So, yoursalesmaven.com/Deb.
Fantastic. I love when I'm part of a URL. And again, these will be, if you go to thedebmethod.com/blog, and you can read the recap, watch the replay, and get some highlights from this conversation, as well as these links. And if you want to learn more about me and how I can help you figure out what you want and how to get it, or how I can help you optimize, get ROI and ROR, or wait, let me do it this way. You know how you go to events and you have all this information, all these people thrown at you and you don't know what to do with it? I solve that. So you can go to thedebmethod.com/goals and learn more about how I do that. How did I do?
Love it.
Awesome.
Okay, then. Wow. Well, this has been so great. I would love for you all to end with a final tip. So, Erin, final tip?
If you really want to challenge yourself and have some fun, go take an improv class, take an improv comedy class. If nothing else, you'll walk out with all the confidence in the world.
Ooh, I love improv. And it's almost like a bonus goal, right?
Bonus goal, dude. I'm all about it.
Awesome. Nikki, what is your final thought and or bonus goal? Because, Erin started something.
She rocks. Okay, here's mine is be willing to invite people to next steps with you. And whatever that means, personal, professional, but be willing to invite them to next steps and get it scheduled on your calendar and on theirs, because then it'll actually happen.
Yes, because if it's not in the calendar, it does not exist, right?
Amen. Yes.
Wonderful.
If it's not on Instagram, it never happens.
True.
Also true.
I am a figment of your imagination.
And Chad, what is your final tip, thought, goal, etc.?
I think, I blew up there we go. What would I say? I would say, I challenge you to remember each and every day that the uniqueness that is in you is the greatness that will transform the lives of those you touch. So begin each day with that thought and don't be afraid to unleash it in the world.
Oof, I got the chills.
I did too.
She's got chills that multiplying. And okay, I'll stop saying.
Well, and as I simplify everything, I would say don't be afraid to unleash your uniqueness onto the world. That work for you?
Sure.
Oh, thank you. Your uniqueness is your greatness. Thank you so much, Erin Brown, Chad Nedland, and Nikki Rausch for joining me today to talk about introducing yourself, but so much more than that. And if you're listening, watching, we're thrilled that you joined us and chose yourself and your goals. I am live every Monday at 4 p.m. Pacific on your favorite social, LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, etc., etc. I'm at the Deb Method everywhere. And please connect. Let us know how you're doing. Your goals, your life, you have the power. It's all in your control. So go on out there and go for it because we know you can do it.